Good. Shabbat Shalom. Let us start with a word of prayer. Avinu Shema Shamayim, we humbly come before you with thanksgiving. We thank you for giving us this Shabbat. And another Pesach, O Lord. Open our hearts as we receive your word today. In Yeshua's name, Amen. Today's Torah portion is about Tzav, command. And I have come with a message by the title, Dangers of Mizer-ly-ness. Dangers of mizer-ly-ness. Miser is stinginess. Dangers of mizer-ly-ness. Okay. We shall read Leviticus 6, 1 and 2. Adonai said to Moshe, give this order to Aaron and his sons. This is the law of the burnt offering. It is what goes up on its firewood upon the altar all night long until morning. In this way, the fire of the altar will be kept burning. Today's portion of the Torah begins with a divine command to Moses to instruct the high priest Aaron and his children to be precise in observance of the issue of the daily burnt offering. So, the extra emphasis was necessary because the burnt offering was totally wasted as food, unlike other offerings which could be eaten by the priest. This calls for some explanation. The amount of meat available for consumption by the priest must have been enormous. All firstborn male livestock were sacrificed and eaten by the priest on each of the 3 festivals. Pilgrimage to Jerusalem was mandatory, and every family had to bring an animal offering which was shared by the priest. Then there were sin offerings eaten only by the priest, and countless voluntary offerings in which the priest shared. Furthermore, the time for consumption of sacrificial meat was 24 to 36 hours at the most, so that much meat must have been in danger of being left over and disposed. Of what significance, then, would the daily burnt offering be that it required special instructions for diligence in its observance, lest the priest be lax because they have no benefit from it? How clearly the Torah understood the nature of human emotions. A person who has a character of miser-ly-ness, who has lost control over his possessions, so that they are master over him rather than he be master over them, may be derelict in a service from which he has no personal benefit. Frugality is not the same as being stingy. Here I want to talk about the patriarch Jacob, who had built up a lot of wealth, wanted to buy a Esau's share in the family burial place in Hebron. Jacob piled up his entire wealth to attain his right to Machpelah. Jacob was indeed frugal, but frugality means to be master over one's assets and not dissipate them. When necessary, Jacob could dispose of all his assets for a worthy purpose. So the extra emphasis on the burnt offering was both for high priest and future generation. Aaron, the high priest, he too had to be urged and cautioned not to be derelict in a service which was of no tangible benefit on him. Is this even thinkable? Is the high priest Aaron the greatest high priest in Jewish history, one who shared divine communication with Moses, to be suspect that he would be lax in the divine service because he would not get a piece of meat from it? Is this not the height of absurdity? Apparently not. The Torah knows human nature better than we do. In spite of being the greatest scholar and leader, one who is in every other way totally devoted to God, a person may retain a streak of mizer-ly-ness within himself. The Torah teaches us that no one is immune. Mizer-ly-ness or stinginess is a character defect which can affect the great and mighty as well as the average person. How thorough we must be examining ourselves for character defects. Regardless of who or what we are vulnerable humans and subject to the most irrational trait. Only by sincere prayer for removal of our character defects and availing ourselves of a spiritual counselor to help us with our character improvement can we eliminate this pitfall. Hebrews 7:23 and 28. Moreover, the priest Kohanim are many in number, because they are prevented by death from continuing in office. But because he lives forever, his position as Kohen does not pass on to someone else, and consequently, he is totally able to deliver those who approach God through him, since he is alive forever and thus forever able to intercede on their behalf. This is the kind of Kohen Gadol that meets our need holy, without evil, without stain, set apart from sinners, and raised higher than the heavens. One who does not have daily necessity, like the other Kohanim Gadolim, of offering up sacrifices first for their own sins, and only then for those of the people, because he offered one sacrifice once and for all by offering up himself. For the Torah appoints a Kohanim Gedolim, men who have weaknesses. But the text which speaks about the swearing of the oath, a text written later than the Torah, appoints a son who has been brought to the goal forever. Amen. So as we celebrate the Passover Seder tonight, as we remove the yeast in our homes, let us remember to ask the Lord, Yeshua, so that we can be able to remove the yeast from our hearts. Amen. Let me leave you with 1 Corinthians 5:7 and 8. Get rid of the old Hames so that you can be a new batch of dove, because in reality you are unleavened. For our Pesach lamb, the Messiah has been sacrificed, so let us celebrate the Seder not with leftover Hames, the Hames of wickedness and evil, but with the mazer of purity and truth. My message today was dangers of mizer-ly-ness. I wish Hag Sameach Pesach to everyone.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Elijah. Well done. Well done.